or no different.
Hello.
Hello, guys. Hoping my microphone is working okay and my picture's okay. And if anyone's watching, please comment and make it say how I sound and whether my picture's grainy, because we're having a few techno gremlins. It seems that way in the world at the moment. And welcome to another Talking with Wizards with myself, Jeremy J.R. White, and Cosmic Shaman Kelly Lair.
Kelly, I think we're shapeshifters. I've decided we're just plain old shapeshifters.
Whatever you want us to be.
Yeah, really, we're what we do, and we show up where we need to be. But yeah, I'm excited. This is really our episode number 2, and I know we've been on before talking specifically about the runes. But today I'm excited to dive in about the crop circle energy and whatever else comes up.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I live in a part of Britain where most of the crop circles turn up in the world, and we're just coming into crop circle season now. So I don't think there's been any yet. We're a bit early, but it is a very interesting phenomenon that I really thought was a load of hogwash up until I saw one appear in about 10 minutes. And then since then, I've been sort of fascinated with the energy, and whether it's a cosmic, divine, or an earth energy, that's for you to decide as we go through our little chat.
Yeah, I'm going to share a website
We've
here
got
in a
some
second.
examples to show you.
Yeah, the one that we're going to show is the specific crop circle that you were able to experience in person. I've yet to experience one, but I've been mesmerized by their energy and how they appear and how they are actually woven, which we'll show you some images in a few minutes. But they're primarily found in the UK, are they not? Isn't that where the majority
it's
of them
like
are?
85 to 95% of the world's crop circles happen between Glastonbury, Avebury, and Stonehenge. Why that is, I don't know, but they're not a modern phenomena. We only think we've seen them since we learnt to fly, but actually they were reported in the Middle Ages, and they were in the fields. And if a farmer was seen with a crop circle in his field, he was burnt at the stake for being in league with the devil. So what they would do at the time was either get it cut as quickly as possible, or they'd burn the field. We've got a couple of questions over there.
Well, so first of all, thank you, Shelby and Ian, for confirming that. Yep. So thanks to both Shelby and Ian for saying that the sound is good. And then Alicia has a comment saying that crop circles are from fallen angelics.
So that's interesting. We're going to share the crop circle that I first experienced, and I'll explain what I felt.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that too. Here, I've got it ready here. So it's just a matter of having technology let me do it, and it's not going to do it. So bear with me. Hold on.
So this crop circle we're going to show, I sort of entered into in 2010. I was driving to Avebury, and I have a relationship with Philippe, who owns the hen shop there. And we were driving in there, and we drove past Windmill Hill on the way into Avebury, and he was on the phone. And basically, I said, have any crop circles turned up? I'm not sure if him was one of the girls, but I said, have any crop circles turned up? And they said, there's one just appeared on Windmill Hill. And I said, well, I've just driven past it, and there was nothing there. So we returned there, and there was an amazing crop circle I was gobsmacked that it could be created in such a short time. It would have taken an army of people with lasers, and how they wouldn't have been seen, I have no idea. But this is the one that I saw. And even the grass that was laid down was woven. It's not flat, and it was woven into one another. It's grass going one direction and the other.
Here's a great example
I
of
sat
it.
right. Yeah, so if you look at this here, this is like basket weaving. It was just nuts. And you see the way it's all spiraling around. And I sat in the middle of the crop circle thinking it was going to be some sort of extraterrestrial energy. So I put my sacred knife, which was given to me by Native Americans, into the earth. I stuck it in the center of the hole. And instead of being pushed up into space, I was dragged down into the center of the earth. And it was Gaia telling me this is a message from the earth to beings above, and which makes sense because you can only see them from above. And it was like, they're like fractals, they're like mathematical language. It's like the consciousness of the planet telling us, or telling somebody else above, what level of consciousness we've reached. It's interesting that it's between Stonehenge, Avebury and Glastonbury, because that has always been a porthole between the worlds, where those ley lines cross, where the portholes are thinnest and where beings of other dimensions can talk to us. Now, it's interesting that Alicia says they are from fallen angels. Well, if those angels actually enter into the earth, then that's the same energy that I felt. I do have a couple of other sort of strange stories about crop circles. Philippe, the guy who owns the hen shop in Avebury, we were talking and we were having a coffee, and he said, yeah, it was a really interesting. He said it was a couple of years ago, there was 3 rugby players, big burly guys in their early 30s, wanted to sleep in a crop circle the night. And he said, well, there's one about half a mile outside the town or the village. And these guys went off. He lives above, at the time he was living above the hen shop. Then he heard a knocking on the door about 2 o'clock in the morning. And there's 2 of the rugby players there sort of screaming, let us in, let us in. The crop circle's taken one of our friends. And he said, what? So they all walked back to the crop circle. I think God knows what they were going to expect. But the friend who was there, the other 2 explained, we were sitting in the crop circle. There was an orb of light appeared above the ground. One of them touched it and screamed, and the other 2 ran for their life to go and get Philippe. When they got back, their friend was sitting in the crop circle, sobbing like a baby. And they said, what happened? Were you hurt? And he just looked at them and said, I never knew such love existed. So whatever it was a divine light that changed him. You know, and if any of you there have got any crop circle questions or stories, it would be great for you to share with us. Yeah, if you see this is amazing, all the way this is woven.
All the intricacies. And I remember when, not that long ago, I'll go ahead and stop sharing here, but I remember that quite often they thought that, you know, there was this map made and people went in with like these boards and pressed. But if you think of the time and intensity to create a perfect geometric shape on the ground with such precision in a very quick period of time, it's just not humanly possible, in my opinion.
No, it would have taken lasers and an army of people. And I drove past that hill and there was nothing there on the way in. So we're talking 20 minutes at the most. You know,
so it's St. Michael's ley line that crosses right through that area. Is there another ley line that intersects it? I don't.
So Avebury doesn't get as much promotion as Stonehenge, but it's actually, there's more ley lines crossing there than Stonehenge. It goes back. You have West Kennet Long Barrow there. You have Silbury Hill, which is to do with cosmic beings or aliens, extraterrestrial energy. And all around there, the crop circles just pop up. We were looking at one that was in Henpeck Hill. Henpeck Hill happens a lot. It's just outside Avebury, about a 10-minute drive, and they have a lot of them on there. And we were going to see one there with a couple I was working with, and one appeared, and a bus pulled over in front of us, and they were all just pointing out the window, and everyone jumped out, and there was a crop circle there. And what's interesting about that, the couple I was working with were a German couple. They were a lovely couple. She was super spiritual, and he thought it was all a load of hogwash. So I took him on a vision, and we did some medicine. I said, what happened in your vision? And he said, oh, I saw a dragon creeping around me, sort of freaked me out. He said, but that's just my imagination. I said, yeah, maybe imagination, or you may be tuning in. And then I took him to South Cadbury Castle, which is Camelot, and we did a drum vision, and the dragon came again and smelt him in the vision. He said it felt, I could really feel he was there. He said, but once again, it's my imagination. I said, yeah, it is. And then we went to West Kennet Longbarrow, and I took him inside, and then outside we sat on the top and had a vision. And he said, the dragon spoke to me, and the dragon told me to open my heart. And I said, yeah, it's imagination. He goes, well, it can be, can't it? And then we arrived to see the crop circle. And then he said, I'm really interested in this because he's an architect. He was really interested in the geometry of it. And all these Spanish ladies were gathered around, and he was looking at it. And I said, wow. And I said, what do you feel? He goes, it's really weird. I feel that dragon energy. He said, but it might be in my mind because I've been thinking of it. And then there was a woman with an app on her phone right at the very center of the circle, which shows you the star constellation above. And I asked her what she was doing. She goes, oh, this one's interesting because this is Draco, the dragon. And it really freaked him out. I said, so yeah, it might be a coincidence, or you may have actually been communicating with the dragon energy. And he went off to be on his own for a while. He needed time to take that in because he was a muggle. And for muggles, this is hard to believe.
Well, it's that word assimilation, and it's been a theme for myself over the last week and a half within other circles, but really to assimilate when we go through, and right now it's 11:11 my time. So I think, when we go through an assimilation of an awareness, whatever that is, whether it be from a dream time or a physical experience or a walking, realization or whatever that is, sometimes it takes a while to assimilate that as being a true possibility, not just, thinking you're crazy. And for years I've thought I've been crazy, but I don't think so anymore. I just have my own way of seeing things. It's really empowering when we get to that point.
Yeah, and it's very frightening for people who don't see that, live in the muggle world, and then they step across the veil for the first time. We got a message from Rob, and Rob said, I've been to 2 crop circles near Avebury. The grass looked as though it had been woven together. Unbelievable that this could physically happen. The strands were almost wound over each other. And he felt a feeling of deep inner peace. Yeah, for me, when I was there, it just felt there's something so much bigger than me. There's something so much more than we understand. And we all have that world. I walk the Northern Path, so I believe in the 9 worlds, and each one of those worlds has their own power. And some of us feel more connected to other worlds, and some of us, when we're at ley lines, that frequency changes, so we see more angelic, we see more fae, or we see more dark elves, or the gods, or the dead, whatever it is. But this energy seems something to me. I felt it was from the earth, but it is some divine energy that's from the inner earth and communicating directly with the realms above. That's just my interpretation of it. And actually, I went on another group with a load of scientists, and and everything I said, they just put down and said is absolute hogwash. There's nothing. And I said, what's your answer? And they said, we don't know. I said, so you don't know, whereas I can channel and feel that energy, but my truth is rubbish because you don't understand it. Science has to have proof, but they'll believe in string theory. They believe in ultimate dimensions and alternative dimensions and antimatter, and we exist elsewhere. So why can't they believe that?
I'm curious what your thoughts are, and I'm sure we've probably tapped on this before, but one of the things that we do is in the Northern Gateway, after our first initiation, we'll have a second initiation that has to do with the inner earth beings, like the root races. Yeah. Do you feel at all that there's any correlation with the dwellings, the root races, and this communication at all? Or do you feel like it's more Mother herself?
At the time, I can honestly say it felt some divine force from the earth. But those root races, the dark elves that have been portrayed in history as orcs and terrible, they are the crafters of the most beautiful magical gifts in the realms above. So it could very well possibly be their energy. And they've been derided through history, but some of the greatest swords, Excalibur, in legend is made by Wayland or Volund, the king of the Dark Elves. There's a character called Svipdag, which will not be known to most people, but he had a magical sword. And all of those things, Odin's spear, Thor's hammer, all of these things, all of the magical things of the Irish, the cauldron, all came from the Dark Realms. And we know there's something magical there, but because the way we're brought up, dark means evil. It doesn't. Right. It just means unknown. And if you look at what's around Avebury, especially West Kennet, Longbarrow, where to do your medicine, you go in. There was into the earth. You are going in the underworld, and you can feel it when you're in there, and that divine energy. And Shelby says, before there was language, there were symbols. Absolutely, I believe totally in and maths is and fractals. They're the symbols of nature. What's the difference between a crop circle appearing in the field in the middle of Somerset to a snowflake falling in Minnesota? When you look at it under a microscope, a snowflake is a fractal.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just nature. You know, it just comes from the heaven and it lands on the earth, and it's there for just a moment. We just don't understand the meaning of those patterns. But crystals, water, ice crystals, they all have intelligence, you know. And so is the earth telling us? What was interesting when I went to the science sort of project, the guys were talking, and they were like mathematicians, and they started trying to figure out the mathematical riddles of crop circles in the 60s. And every time they sort of got it, the next crop circle got more involved. Then the next one got more involved. And then one mathematician would die trying to understand it. Another one would step forward and the crop circles would get more involved. It was like whatever this force is trying to teach us how to read, how to teach us this magical symbols. And this is from their words as scientists, not mine. And I was listening and I just thought, you know, you can say this, but you're not realizing it's a divine force. They don't understand what force means.
Yeah, I think it would be fun, since we're really just approaching crop circle season, like you said at the very beginning, and it's through the growing season into late fall that happens, that we follow what happens this year, wherever they may be. I mean, sometimes they do happen outside of the UK. And as a matter of fact, I think crop circles have even appeared here in the United States. I want to say Ohio, which has a powerful energy itself. It would be fun to kind of follow them and jump online to see where they are popping up, because it seems like we're on this cusp, another precipice of great change, and what may be being communicated, because our perspective that it is a form of communication. And I love that analogy of it being a communication to what is above from here. It's kind of like an SOS symbol. It's like an SOS from Earth to those that are out here in a way.
It's interesting that over the last 2 years, since we've been locked down a lot and not been out on the land, there's been less crop circles.
That's very true. Yeah.
You know, is that because we're not there to read them? Are we part of the energy that creates them, our consciousness? If we're subdued, they become subdued. If we're opening up, they open up. You know, and it's about us, that woke period. I don't know. It's just a coincidence. You know, I can't wait for the first one that appears this year, and I'll go out and I'll do this stuff, and I'll probably try and make a little video for you wherever I go. You know, so I'm like a crop circle chaser in the UK as opposed to a storm chaser in the States.
Well, and that's one of the things that you do with Walking with Wizards. You know, you do offer tours to those things. And that's, you know, that's one of the avenues, but I think would be really powerful to be able to be in the presence of one like Rob and you have both been able to experience.
Yeah, and it will happen, Kels. You'll get over here and you'll go on a tour with us, and we'll be chasing them, and you'll feel what message, and it'll be the right time when it's supposed to be the right time.
Absolutely.
Does anyone have any questions about it? I'd love to have some questions. I'm not saying that we know the answers, but I'd love to see what questions people have about them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Have we got any more pictures of crop circles we can show?
Let me see what I can pull up. This actual website that I'll share again, is called psychedelicadventure.net, and they have a whole myriad of things that you'll see at the very, very top, crop circles, etc. But let me go here and see. And they have a long library of imagery. I'm just curious as to when this was May 2020. It's somewhat reminiscent of the virus in a way.
Yeah. That is also like a paintball splat. Now, so once again, sometimes I'm dubious. If they're not a fractal, I'm slightly dubious of that. I could be completely wrong. What are other people's views on that?
Well, I look at this, I'm just going to say, and it's kind of hard to show, so I would encourage anybody to go to the website. But if you zoom into this, I don't know how, it almost looks like, who is the artist? Is it Monet that does that spiral painting, where all the pieces, it's
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh. Okay. So it's very intricate. How can you do this by hand?
Yeah.
In this particular case, let me go back here. Rob's made another comment. Oh, I love that. Rob says, I think that we are being stirred from a slumber to communicate with this planet. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's the world doesn't end where we begin. We are the planet. We are the living consciousness of it. And we've forgotten that. And maybe the Earth's trying to speak to us. And
this kind of reminds me of you.
Yeah. Shelby's got a question as well. She says, I wonder what other codes appear elsewhere without us knowing. And it is the Mother Earth. So it will happen all over the planet. Whether we can see them or not is not her fault. It's ours. Most of these crop circles, we would not be even able to interpret unless we'd learned to fly or to get drones above them, because you cannot see them. They're messages to those who are above, so they can see them clearly. If they wanted to give us messages, we'd have messages in the sky.
Oh, wow. I'm going to see if I can get this picture. Rob just sent me a picture on Facebook Messenger of the crop circle that he saw, and I will see if I can pull it up here. Rob, what year was this? Do you know? I might be able to find it on this website. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. Here's another one. Let me see if I can sign into Facebook here and pull up Rob's. (2014). This is 2014 season. Let's see if we can find.
Was it Avery, Rob, or somewhere else?
It's interesting. They're all so very, very different. See, I'm going to give the internet a moment to catch up with me.
Yeah, and I know I was near Avery, can't remember how far. Okay, thanks, Rob.
That's interesting. It's just fascinating.
So for me, when I see this one here, these ones, these feel real. When I see ones like Sonic the Hedgehog, I know some students have sat out there and done it, but
absolutely.
So involved. And that's the problem. I would say 90% of them are real, 10% of the fake. But, the one that I saw and I showed you, first of all, do I really think people walk around with planks on their feet doing that in 10 minutes as I drove by? No. And I was a cynic before that.
Well, and also, I mean,
look at that. It's amazing.
Yeah, and these farmers that, have this property, these lands, I mean, it really creates a problem for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they lose a lot of their crops. So, they're certainly not allowing, whoever to come in and say, hey, let's do this, because it's their livelihood too.
Well, there was one, I'm thinking Glastonbury, I think it was 2019 or 2000 early. No, we locked down. So it must have been 2019. It appeared in the morning. And because it appeared in the morning, the farm, it was in Butley. And the farmer cut it down the same day. He cut his field early because to him, he was born and bred in Glastonbury, Somerset. His generations, it is bad luck for them to have crop circles in the field because they're associated with witchcraft through common law, for the church saying these are evil signs. So some of the crop circles never get seen because of the way the landowners feel. And a lot of
Right.
them don't want people trespassing over their land.
All right.
You know,
Let
as
me.
I'm called a crazy hippie, you know, I'm about as far from a hippie as you can get. But I do believe in the divine energy. And if it's there, we should be allowed to embrace that energy and try and solve that riddle. 2016, Rob said.
Here we go. Here's the one that Rob saw. That is extraordinarily
You know,
intricate.
yeah, there's a message there for us, isn't there?
I'm just curious. 1, 2, 3.
That's amazing, brother.
So there's 20 symbols around the side, around it. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Rob. Shelby says that's a clock.
Yeah.
So 1, 2.
Is it a clock or a
19?
compass?
There's 19. Is there, am I counting 19 symbols around? Yeah, really interesting. Well, and then there's
there's not symmetrical.
Mm-mm.
You know, once again, dividing 19 between 360 to get that accurate is crazy.
Yeah, like she says, not our time though. And it's very much the sacred geometry, like the flower of life behind it.
Yeah, I'd see that as a compass. It's like a star chart telling me where things are. Each one of those, that's what I see as soon as I saw it. Each one of those symbols around the outside is a civilization and an intelligence or a star system. And the 3 plants is us in the middle saying this is where you go. That's just my interpretation. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, fascinating. Very, very intricate.
That's amazing, bro. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, wow. Well, and here's kind of a closer look at how it's just fascinating. It really is.
So I think in my time, I think I've been in about 6. And one, what I would say was that it's fake. Others I thought were just so unbelievably real, and the energy you can feel when it's done. You know, and each of us, when we see them, when we see it, we'll get our own interpretation of that.
Let's see what was. Has there already been one this year? Let's see.
It's a bit early in the crop season. It's only sort of mid-April, early April.
Yeah, no, they're doing other things. Let me back up to last year and let's just see. I guess they don't have anything for 2021, as you were saying earlier. There wasn't much.
No.
Although I know that there were a few last year because I remember you and I speaking of them.
Yeah, and it's whether so you need people to report them as well. And once again, with the farmers, crop circles, they don't want to report them. You know, there's nobody coming out to see them, then they won't put them on your news, they won't do anything. And they were doing everything to keep us indoors. Hopefully this year, because we're past it, it will open up again. But once again, I know in the world that China's locking down again, and you know, hopefully that doesn't come again for us.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
it is our purpose on our conscious journey to try in some way to solve these riddles and take the next few steps on that path to what they are. And I honestly believe you just trust your first intuition, what it means to you. And I believe it might mean different things to different people.
Oh, absolutely. Huh. It's an interesting article. I might have to go back and read. Sorry, as I go back. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
That's a really interesting one there, that sort of splat. And that happened when everyone was locked down. So,
yeah,
you know, it's just a strange energy. It's not symmetrical in any way. It's not a fractal. It looks like a virus.
Yeah, it absolutely did. I am going to stop sharing for a second for my system to catch up. It seems to be a bit.
I see what Shelby's put. That's a really good point. I actually agree with that totally. That virus-looking circle really looks like a huge amount of energy exploding out of the earth.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy of it.
Yeah, we'll try and post the ones that come up this year, maybe have another session on crop circles, probably mid-June or something. And we'll
Yeah,
collect.
it would be fun.
They start normally early May, and we'll probably get half a dozen, and hopefully there'll be half a dozen. I don't know. Some years, like you say, there's not many.
Well, and hopefully they'll be close by for you to just get out on the lands and explore them and then share back, and not too far.
It was very interesting of how many there wasn't around Glastonbury during the lockdown. You know, because the people in Glastonbury are the ones who are more likely to post them, but it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's us when we go into fear, the crop circles are hidden. And once again, I don't believe we are separate from Gaia. We are Gaia. We're the conscious form of Gaia that has the most ability to change and do good in the world. But we think we're separate, so we don't really understand the messages. We don't really understand what the earth is feeling. And if these could be expressions of emotions from the earth to us, trying to tell us something, especially like that one with something exploding out the virus. What's this about? You know, we don't try and think, but we should be. And this is what I believe with the mathematicians trying to understand the riddles of the fractals. When they get it, the next one gets more complicated. It's like we're supposed to be trying to solve the riddle.
Well, and one of the things here was, and it's actually mentioned on this website, about Barbara Masiniak, who actually wrote the book Bringers of the Dawn, and its reference in correlation to the Palladian energy, which it is referenced within her series of books. So that, you know, gets into the whole starseed conversation and what celestial tribes, if you will, are here to support whatever process we're going through. And, you know, there's all kinds of schools of thoughts on that. And I think it's all about what resonates as your truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a friend called Stu. I'd love to hear his opinion on crop circles, what he believes they are, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's part of this whole conversation as we continue, is to bring other people on for deeper conversations and various viewpoints, which is a kick to do. We do it a lot on the side anyway, so we thought, why don't we just go ahead and bring it to a public forum?
Yeah, and I like this streaming live with a Stream Deck. This is so easy. There's no editing. It's live. It's out there.
Yeah.
As somebody would say, I know it's real. It's fresh. It's authentic, including all the cock-ups as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, we can't make excuses. It's just what it is. Well, we can make excuses, but regardless,
it will be interesting to journey into a circle and see what messages we all get. Okay, that's a really cool thing, because I do that with West Kennet Longbarrow. So next time there's a crop circle, I will go in there and I will video in the circle, and then I'll walk around the energy, and then we'll post a picture from above the crop circle, and we'll cast the runes to see what you're supposed to get, and I'll take you all on a journey.
That's a great idea, Shelby.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Really good idea.
And one of us might be able to solve the riddle. Who knows?
Yeah. Gotta love the riddles.
So we're at that time of the night. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask the runes? So I'll do my chant. And the format is, the runes are between numbers 1 and 24. And if you have a question, post that first. And then 3 numbers between 1 and 24. But close your eyes first and listen to the sound of my voice and the doorway opening. Mana, mana, mana. Me, ma, mu, mo, me. Mana, mana, mana. Am, im, en. Mana, mana, mana. Okay. So does anyone have a question? So as I was doing that, girls, our next topic for our next Talking with Wizards came in through the runes, which is Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the Yeti.
That would be perfect. I actually had a very long conversation this last weekend, or the last couple of days. I was kind of in a mini retreat about that energy. So I look forward to that.
Cool. That'd be really interesting. Just saying through, you got to talk about that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I love that.
We'll talk about the spiritual aspects of what that means.
Yeah, Yeah. And I was just real quick as we wait for a question to come in. So I live in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Portland specifically, but I was in the Columbia Gorge, which is just, specifically where I was not too far from Mount Adams. And Mount Adams is where they have a lot of Bigfoot or Sasquatch sightings. So it's perfect. Perfect. All right. So we have our first question. I'm going to go ahead and pop myself off the screen here for Jeremy. It is from Shelby, and it is, I went through that transition from last time. All still processing though. What's next for the guidance, please? 7, 21, and 24.
Okay, cool. Put some over there. Okay, so you've got really good runes this time. So it's slightly, Odin's rune is slightly off kilter. So it's about you finding and grounding yourself in your new tribe. Then you have Berkana, fresh starts and new beginnings, the road ahead. And then eventually Laguz, love and that energy, creativity flowing right. But before that starts, you have to find your new home, the people where you're supposed to be and where you belong, and then you can blossom. All right, bless you, sister.
Beautiful. All right, next question is from Rob. A little guidance for the next month or so, please. And the number, tell me when you're ready.
Okay, go for it.
15, 18, and 22.
Interesting ones, Rob. You have Tirwaz, fallen towards the future. You have Berkana, reversed and falling towards the future. And you have Kenaz, reversed. So these can mean natural endings, but I actually think there's some sort of a woman from the past or an experience a woman figure had in the past comes up. That's Kenaz, and she's not to get totally overwhelmed by it or be enchanted by it, but it's the reoccurrence from some event from the past. You're the warrior laying down. You have to make sure you have enough energy for this, but are probably about protecting your partner and accepting that she's going through a transition into this stage. All right, bless you, brother.
Wow.
Interesting.
And by the way, just while we're waiting for Jeremy to reset his runes, and Jessica will get your question next. We have a runic study starting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. The information is available on our website, and it's a great way to dive into really working with this amazing divination tool. It's a really, really wonderful tool for sure. So, all right. So for Jessica, just without giving much information, she'd just like to know the message for her next chapter in relation to how she'll be living. And it's number 1, 2, and 3. And hello, Jessica. It's good
nice to see you, Jess. Okay, Jess, you have Io, the right way up, slightly tilting to the future. You have Rado, right way up, slightly tilting to the future. And Manaz, right way up, slightly tilting to the future. The way you'll be living is you'll be focusing on your path as a healer and a teacher. And do not be distracted. As long as you keep that tunnel vision, that's who you want to be, the quest, the path, your gifts all open up for you. But be positive. Don't let any doubt or negativity sidetrack you. All right, bless you.
Beautiful. All right. The next question is from Danielle. Hello, Danielle. All right. Danielle. Guidance for focus and energy through the spring and summer. And the runes are 5, 9, and 21.
Guidance for the spring. This is interesting. You have Tirwaz upside down, pointing to the past. You have Rado blocked, and now these blocked. Guidance for the spring is to keep your head, your path is going to be blocked. Keep your head down, and you're not going to be able to let go of things from the past. It's like keeping your head below the parapet. There is some sort of battle coming, but if you don't make yourself obviously seen, you'll be okay. But understand that this path, this obstacle on your path, is part of your path. There's a Native American saying that sometimes there's an obstacle on your path, sometimes the obstacle is your path. And this will help you let go of somebody that dwells in the past, especially with Tiawa's reverse painting to the past. And you have now these, which is normally comes up about letting go of a person, a situation that involves around bereavement, something that's so strong you can't let it go. And that's what you have to release during this time of stillness. These readings will last from 6 weeks to 3 months. Ask that same question again in 3 months' time when the summer's here. All right, bless your sister.
Oh. All right. Another question from Ian, just a general reading. 2, 7, and 10.
2, 7, 10. Give me a few seconds.
Yep, I was pretty quick on that.
Two, 7, 10. Just a general reading where you have Isa 45 degrees towards the past, which is, am I right? Is it that way? No, it's that way. Okay. Which is stillness, which is also one of the shamanic runes. And you have this one, which is action. So you have the two opposing forces, and then you have algaes blocked in the future. So you're sort of torn between two things, doing nothing and acting. And you can't put your needs first. So the Isa one is about being the shaman. Stop for a second and understand why you're feeling slowed down. And when you realize that, then you can act. But until you've gone through that realization, it's probably not in your best interest to act. The algaes is blocked in the future. So stop, assess the situation, understand. It's like you're urging to move on, but you haven't got the right information yet, or you haven't solved the riddle yet. When you do, solve it shamanically, and then it'll be good to go. All right, bless you, brother.
All right, and another question here. Give you a moment to reset.
Okay, Kels.
Megan is asking for a general reading, 9, 14, and 23.
General readings, 9, 14, 15, 23. So, Megan, you have the Perthrow rune standing up on its end in the cauldron position, like something's about to be birthed from the cauldron. You also have, this is divine, the gods are watching over you. Something's about to be birthed, or there's something in your womb that's about to happen and spring forth. It's not what I would call in the reverse position because it's standing up. If it was laid down, that would be a certain difference, but it's standing up on its edge. And we have Sawello. Kenaz looking down from above. Whatever has happened is going to be divinely controlled. The Sawello block means you just can't see it yet, but the gods are watching over you, and whatever happens and whatever gets birthed is going to be nothing but joy in the future. You've just got to wait for the clouds to pass or for the realization to come to you. All right, bless you, sister. And this is more all about just accepting whoever the gods are watching over you. Give thanks to them, whoever they are, because they are guiding your path like a lantern in the dark. All right, bless you. Yeah. We got another one, Kels?
No, I think that looks to be about it. And again, the next runic study begins tomorrow, the 9th, if you're so inclined to follow that path. It's there. We will have another one probably in June, I would gather. We typically have 4 or so a year. But yeah, I think it's always fun to do this, Jeremy. And I so enjoyed the conversation about the crop circles and what's going to come from that. So much fun.
Yeah, it's good. It just flowed. And like I say, next one will be about Bigfoot and Sasquatches. So think of all the questions you want to talk about, and we'll put it to the open forum. We'll chat and get questions. Thank you all for taking part, listening. I want you to close your eyes for a moment while I say a prayer to close the energy of this circle. Innerval, 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 Father. Innerval, 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 Father. Innerval, 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 Father. I call on the handmaidens of Avalon. I call on the land whites that are present wherever the people gathered at my fire. I thank you for allowing us to share the wisdom, to ask questions and use the message of the runes to guide others in their lives. I thank you for allowing us to ponder on the riddle of the crop circles, and may one of us see further into the fire, further into the future, and solve that riddle one day. And until we gather again, may we work in your service. May we work with your blessing. May we ask for your protection. Bless you guys.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
See you soon.